Hello everybody and welcome to another Datacron review video. In this video I'm going to be going over my recommendations for what stats and mechanics each team wants from set 5. For light side, that's just going to be stats because obviously there's no dark side mechanics. And then for non-forced order or bounty hunters, I'll just go over their level 3 mechanics and stats. And then for first order and bounty hunters, the whole shebang. All 3, 6, 9 and stats. And then there are also some notable exceptions that are going to want set 4 instead of set 5. So here are the notable absences that, as long as you have some good set 4 Datacrons, you're going to want them on these teams. This is mostly Empire, but anything, if you have some cooldown reductions or grit Datacrons, and you want cooldown reduction on Lord Vader, Darth Vader, and an EP Mara team, and then you want grit on Veers and either Versio teams. Fifth Brother and Grand Inquisitor, I think they work the best with the level 6 where it's expiring debuffs, and there's not really a comparable mechanic in a level 3 for them. And while I like the stats in set 5 more than set 4, I hate set 4 stats because it's basically, okay, you want dodge or deflection, or you want physical accuracy to counter dodge, and after that, I don't like the stats. They're too split. Resistance, penetration, armor penetration. Just use defense penetration. And then special accuracy versus physical accuracy. I don't know why they couldn't just give us accuracy, but I hate the stats for set 4. But the mechanics are good enough to merit using set 4 on these teams. Definitely. The only outside team I have here is Dash Han Chewie, because with that bonus turn Datacron, it's a pretty awesome team. You either need something specialized to take it out, or a Galactic Legend or something, and even then, it's going to be kind of a nightmare to deal with. So yeah, these are all great teams, so stick with set 4 for these teams. And first we're going to go over the light side, and just to remind everyone of what stats are available, we got health, crit damage, armor, no resistance, just armor, protection, health steal, tenacity, and potency. And the first team I'm going over is the JMK team, and this is just kind of like the most standard version I can think of, though people do use different versions. We got JMK, Cat, and Kenobi. Their best stat, or primary stats, 1 and 2, I have highlighted in green. So they definitely want health. Cat wants health. If it's a mirror, it comes down, or any kind of, not just mirrors, any kind of counter. It comes down to, can Cat stay alive? And she is much harder to kill with health, because it stacks that protection up. Protection up does more. She's just way harder to kill. She already has a high base health. And then JMK, I mean, it helps him too, but usually if Cat's dead, he's going to be dead as well. And then GK, in a mirror, he'll just die. But if it's not a mirror, armor will help. And I put health steal because, you know, sometimes that can help. If Cat is getting low, she can heal up much faster. I've had several matches where she has just a stick of health left, and I couldn't finish her off, so that would help in those situations. Next up, we got JML, and JML I think definitely wants protection, a lot of protection. That is a primary concern for him, so if you have a Datacron that has just a ton of protection, I'd probably give it to either him or Gas, but I would be tempted just to give it to him, because that's increasing the amount of damage he does, his survivability, and then also we got armor and green to help him survive as well. Crit damage isn't really a concern because a lot of the damage you're doing is through that leadership ability. And then the rest don't really stand out to me, except potency might be, if you got a little bit of potency, it wouldn't hurt because it'll help that mass ability block from JML. As far as getting at Luke, it'll help him land blind, but his stun is irresistible anyway. Next we got Rey, and I have Rey, Ben, and Holdo. A lot of people are using Hermit Yoda with them, but it wouldn't really change. I think health is definitely the way to go, and health steal. They're both primary concerns. Rey in set 1 was extremely annoying with the super high amounts of health steal, and while it's reduced this time, it could still help her out, especially since you have the annoying thresholds where she has to be below 50% health. If you got some health steal, that's not going to happen as easily. And then Ben solo, it'll just help him stay alive too to protect Rey. So yeah, they just want health and health steal. The other stats aren't really an emphasis for them. Next up we got Gas, and I already mentioned it. Protection is great for him. Also, I think he loves armor, and then potency can be a focus for him as well. And then crit damage, kind of a secondary focus. But if I had like a ton of armor, I would put it on Gas first. Crit damage is nice, but a lot of their damage comes from gas after he's down, and you kind of want Rex to ramp up in time, and that doesn't use crit damage or anything. But honestly, he could use a lot of stats. He could use tenacity too, but potency to land the days and reduce max health and increase cooldowns. I don't think the cooldown can be resisted, but he can make use of potency and just a lot of stats in general. Next up, we got Qui-Gon Jinn. I think this team really craves crit damage because there's so much stacking offense on the team. From Qui-Gon's lead, just up front, and then when he dies, giving tons of offense, and Cam gives a lot of offense too. That offense is going to be best amplified with crit damage, and you want crit damage on Jedi Knight Anakin anyway. He's got really high crit chance, and with all that offense, he's just dying to have more crit damage. And then for a secondary stat, I don't really know if it matters. I mean, tenacity to resist something on Anakin, in case it is something that can be resisted. A big counter is, when you're using it to try to take Dash Han Chewie, you don't want him to be stunned, but that's going to happen anyway if Han shoots him. But there are some things that could be resisted in other teams. I don't know, tenacity might be nice, but I think crit damage for him is great. And then CLS kind of wants everything. I think the best ones, though, are tenacity, potency, and some crit damage. Tenacity first off, and then potency, because they deal a lot of debuffs. And crit damage, they can make use of. They got a lot of crit chance and offense, so they're definitely going to be dealing damage, and this will help increase that. But tenacity is great for them to prevent stuff like Inversio counters. That can help a lot. If you can't get any stuns on Luke or Chewie, it makes that counter way harder. Then you gotta use something better. And then you can also make use of protection and armor if it's left over, but definitely focus on tenacity for them. Next up, we got Jedi Knight Revan, and this set's stats. It's hard to know what to do with Jedi Knight Revan because they mainly care about speed and offense. But the characters have more health overall. Jolie, Yoda, and Revan have higher health pools, very low protection pools, so you don't want protection. So health would help, and then maybe tenacity and potency to land some debuffs. Yoda has some debuffs, but not a ton of potency, and Jedi Knight Revan has a stun that can be resisted, so I don't know. But not a super great stat set for this team. Next up, we got Bad Batch, and kind of a similar thing going on, where they just want speed and offense mainly, and a lot of their damage is true damage, so crit damage isn't helping. And in threes, you're not even really going to use Wrecker, so the armor, not going to be a great idea. You want them to be killing the other team quickly, or just be in control the whole time, or you're mostly screwed. The survivability isn't really going to help. So as best as I can tell, you probably want tenacity and potency to resist anything coming at them, and then to help them deal all their debuffs. Next we got Raddus, and Raddus is kind of hard for me to determine. You basically want survivability on him, while crit damage and tenacity, that could help. I think the hardest Raddus to kill is the one that you just can't get through Raddus himself. And you shouldn't use Cassian, probably. I have at times, but you want a tank so that they're either wasting their time on the tank or they're trying to chew through Raddus to no avail. But you want an extra tank. You don't want him to be able to get right at Raddus. But he's pretty thick. He's got a high health and protection pool. And armor helps him out a lot as well. So definitely just make them as thick as you can. Next up we got Padme. And it's pretty obvious to me that she loves health. She gives out protection up like candy, and has a very high health pool in general, and so do a lot of the characters you want with her if you're using her. And if you don't have JMK, you're going to have a better team under Padme. Maybe you'll have Kat, or maybe you'll have Anakin or GK. But right now, I'm kind of using her with Mace and Ahsoka Tano, and they want health. And then Padme and Mace Windu want potency. Padme for her kick stun, and then Mace for his Shatterpoint stuff. And next we got Bam, and I am not any kind of authority on Bam. As you can see, I don't have the Zetas yet. I just got Queel to R5, and I got IG-11 to R5 a little earlier just for the 5v5 counter to Lord Vader, and he doesn't have a Zeta yet. I do have my Zeta on Queel. I just got it after the gift that they gave us after GAC lock. I wish it was before, but I need a couple more Zetas on them. But you mainly want survivability on them. You don't want crit damage because most of the damage is true damage from BAM or like dots from IG-11. And health is better than protection because IG gains protection based on his health and he has a higher health pool. Although protection would help, I think it's better to focus just on health and armor to keep IG-11 topped off. Next up, we got the Resistance Hero Bros. And, you know, it might seem like crit damage is better for them just in general. And it is. It's nice because they get a lot of extra offense from Finn. But they don't have super high crit chance. However, I think it probably still would be worth bumping up their crit damage from a yellow to a green. But they like some potency for resistance to your Poe, maybe some tenacity, but it's hard to decide. I actually would probably say potency and crit damage. And next, second to last, we got Sortie. And not everyone's going to have Sortie. She's pretty new. She's not required for anything, but she is a great character. She is so durable. So tanky, and she deals a good amount of damage. I think keeping her survival is the best thing to do, and while crit damage could help, it's mainly about keeping her alive, and the best way to do that is health and armor. Health, because she gets a lot of protection up, and she has a good health pool, and then armor makes that protection up hard to get through. And then potency, there's a lot of debuffs on this team, and you increase your damage based on how many debuffs are on the enemy team because of T3. And even though BB-8 has tenacity up, or tenacity down on his basic, that's only for one enemy, so you want to be able to land debuffs on everyone with T3's AoE, or Sortie, and then BB-8. And last, for light side, we got Mon Mothma, and she doesn't know what she wants. She can make use of a lot of stuff, kind of equally, just survivability, health, protection. And then crit damage for Kyle Katarn, because unless you're dealing some good damage with him and ramping it up, you're not really going to finish off an enemy team in 3v3, or not really going to get any stops. So you really need him to ramp up his damage. So I'd recommend health, protection, and crit damage. Armor is like a secondary focus because Mon Mothma stat shares the health and protection pools, but not just armor. So that is it for light side. Next up, dark side, non-first order, non-bounty hunters.
Hello there.
Like and subscribe.
Okay, so for the level 3 bonuses, I have 3 main sets, because these are the ones I'm recommending for non-first order, non-bounty hunters. The other aren't as good at all. This one's probably the best, or most universally applicable. The 15% turn meter for special abilities, but it's not a universal completely. I think the next best is when dark side allies are defeated, remaining gain 15% offense and speed. This would be better in 5v5, but it's still good in 3v3 for some characters. And then the damage over time one where you're getting protection up. This would have more once set 4 expires because Lord Vader and Darth Vader are like this. But the first one in the 15% turn meter camp is Malgus. You can make an argument for the increased offense and speed, but I think getting turn meter for him is great. The stats you want to focus on, I have more space on this page, so I have them off to the side and bigger. So you want armor and protection for him, and health, just survivability. Potency can help as well, and maybe health steal, but definitely focus on armor and protection. And the turn meter can just help you go circles around the opponent. It's easier to cycle back to that big hit since you can't use it infinitely anymore. And they're already pretty fast because of a lot of bonuses Malgus gives in his lead. So the turn meter just makes it a little bit more annoying. Next up, we got the Darth Revan team, and they definitely want the turn meter. They're super fast anyway. They got plenty of specials going around, so it's really going to help them run circles. And they would love crit damage, and then almost as much health. Bastila Shan Fallen gives a ton of health to her and Revan. I think 70%. It's crazy. And they got a lot of offense. Just crit damage will help amplify that even more. And so they'll be doing crazy amounts of damage. They'll survive a crazy amount. Malak will benefit from the health up. He'll also benefit from protection up, but I think health should definitely be the focus. And then potency is great as well. So Bastila can land her debuffs, and Darth Revan can land his AoE shock and his buff immunity on the basic. But yeah, this team is great and works very well with a set just focused around these stats and this ability. Next up, we got the Sith Trio. They want survivability, primarily health, and then armor helps Scion a lot, and the others as well, even though they don't have a super high defense to begin with. And then protection would help Darth Scion, but Nihilus and Traya would benefit the most from health, and Nihilus stacks his health to an insane amount eventually, but you really want him to survive enough early to where he can get to those crazy amounts of health where he's basically unkillable. And they definitely want special turn meter from specials. They got plenty of specials to go around. And the sooner you can get to an Annihilate with Darth Nihilus, the better. So, yeah, definitely in this camp. Next up, we got Maul. And this is for if you don't have Lord Vader. If you do have Lord Vader, definitely set Maul with him in 3s. It's not worth splitting the baby, because Maul makes it so much harder to deal with Lord Vader. They want mainly protection and armor to make it harder to kill. In Maul, you want modded for protection anyway, if he's with Lord Vader or by himself, because Lord Vader converts his protection to health, and then the health damage he's taking to offense. And then Bo-Katan gives extra protection for each Mandalorian ally. And the more you have, the more it's going to make it harder for Maul to die. He's doing plenty of damage anyway, and if you just can't kill him, it's a better chance he's going to wipe you out. And next up, we got General Grievous. General Grievous is, to me, pretty clearly in favor of health and crit damage. His damage is based on health. He has also got a high health pool, making him harder to kill, so it's kind of a win-win. And even though he doesn't make use of offense, he makes use of crit damage. So if you have a lot of health and crit damage, his team would go from a little bit more of an obscure role that he is now to a definite threat. And I use these two because I use B1 with Newt and Django, and that helps take out Qui-Gon teams. He could make use of potency, and then Hellsteel would make it harder to kill him off in the end. But definitely health and crit damage is the focus. Next up, we're moving on to the bonus for letting your teammates die, and the clear winner for that is Sith Eternal. Armor kind of takes away from that, so if you don't have armor, you just have another Sith, or even better, GBA would help. I think that might count twice if you let the Brute die and GBA die. Not entirely sure. But Sith Eternal is the one that is used to being all by himself at the end. So having extra 40 speed and 30% offense would really help hammer it home for him. And he definitely wants just health and survivability. He wants to stay alive as long as he can. And then Hellsteel would definitely help as well if he can get some to help him stay alive. And there's tough battles versus like Rey or something. If you have Watt available, that's better than armor. But for me, I use Watt with Supreme Leader Kylo just to take out Lord Vader. But Watt would be better here. And he could get use of tenacity, you know, if they have an ability block on the other team that can be resisted. A little bit of tenacity might help. But yeah, he definitely wants this ability. This is pretty much made for him. Another team you want, you're anticipating the team dying except one, is a Savage team. And this is the lineup I've been using. Darth Maul lead, and then Dooku. Because Dooku is very fast, you know, he's R8 anyway for requirements. And Savage, I have him built for survivability. He stacks his offense a ton anyway, so he'll make great use of crit damage. He loves crit damage, and then health is great, and armor is good as well. If I had more space, I would make that armor a bigger indicator. So if you have these 3 stats, you should be pretty good to go with Savage. I use it on defense, and I constantly get holds. Even if I'm losing, I'm usually, one of the holds I get is Savage, because people underestimate it, and it's just really hard to get through him. I've been putting like 40%, I have a Datacron with like 40% health and 60% crit damage, and you know, maybe I could use it better, but for a lot of good teams, I'm gonna win on offense anyway, and I like to surprise people with it. So that's great. Yeah, he usually is the last one alive, and if he has 40 more speed and 30% offense, he's much more likely to get a hold. And then we got Night Sisters. I don't really use Night Sisters anymore, but this would apply for any kind of cheese as well for them. If you have Doc and Zombie with someone else like Kylo, you want health, and you don't want health on Kylo anyway, or C. Potency helps with them a lot because of Plague and stuns and everything, and I don't know what lineup you'd use, but Doc and Zombie are probably the most useful, and then I like Talzin lead. So yeah, it's not a super great team anymore, but if at the lower levels, it's probably used a lot more, so definitely you want your potency for them. And I realize health is very common across basically every team I've gone over. It's probably the most common stat, and that's because I think it is the best stat in this set, especially with the amounts. If protection percentages were higher, maybe that would take a lead, but health is great right now. In the last one, it's not really a team, but we got Wampa wants this damage over time bonus because he's dealing damage over times constantly, and it'll make him even harder to heal. And he kind of wants every stat. I think his favorites would be health, crit damage, and potency. A lot of people are crazy about tenacity on him, but to me, it's such a diminishing return because it's only for like the first turn or two, because he starts stacking his tenacity so much that it's just wasted after that. And I just, for some matchups, it's probably needed because you really need him to resist a stun, first of all. But I don't like it personally, but don't come at me critical and say, well, you can't criticize, I don't care. But if you think like tenacity is definitely the way to go, I get it that some people think that. I just like stuff that'll keep being useful the whole time, like the health, the crit damage, and then the potency to land those dots, and healing immunity. Definitely think those three stats are best, and armor could be useful for him as well. He just can make use of a lot of stats, so hard to go wrong with him. And now we're to the First Order and Bounty Hunter set. They make use of all mechanics, level 3, level 6, level 9. There's not a ton of teams to go over here, but there's a few key ones, starting with Supreme Leader Kylo. So I'm using him with Kylo Ren Unmasked, sometimes on Wat Tambor. Actually, the best to take out Lord Vader is Wat Tambor. And armor, the level 3 he wants is characters dying most of the time. That speeds him up and gives him extra offense. He loves the offense. But you want health primarily on him, and then health steal and crit damage. Against Lord Vader's, crit damage is getting nerfed all the time, but against anyone else, crit damage is awesome for him. He gets super high offense, and then if he starts out with a ton of extra crit damage, he's just like a murder machine. He also gets some use out of armor, but I don't think it's worth going out of your way for. The level 6 bonus you want is the damage immunity, at least in my opinion, to help take out Lord Vader, just kind of as a fail-safe if he starts getting low. And I have Kylo modded for a lot of health, so the extra health really helps bump that up even more. And usually when he gets low, it's in the end of a fight, and this damage immunity helps him recover a little bit, get up to full strength, and then finish off Lord Vader. So I definitely like that one over any of the other available. Retribution doesn't last super long in those fights. It's a very long fight, and you're going to be dazed anyway. And then for the level 9, I have not been able to get this one, but I think it's clearly the better one. When a First Order ally gains advantage, he gains 3% offense until the end of the encounter. And it's not doing a ton in 3s if you're just using Wat and Armorer as his allies, because obviously they're not First Order, and there's less advantage to go around. But I would definitely take that stacking offense. That's better for 5v5 territory wars. But it's definitely better than the reflect damage. And in my opinion, I mean, the level 9 isn't super necessary anyway. I don't love any of these level 9s so much that they're just must-haves like in set 4. The main purpose of rolling to level 9 for me is so you can reroll the stats. Which, by the way, I wish you could just reroll stats anyway. I think it's unduly burdensome to not be able to reroll level 2, 3, 4, and 5 without leveling up to level 9. I understand like 7 and 8 maybe, but you should just be able to reroll stats. Like, come on. Next up, we have Jabba, and I am not fortunate enough to own Jabba at the present moment. But to me, it seems like this is the best team for him, and it's a mixed team. Boushh is light side, so she's not benefiting everything from this turn meter. She's not benefiting from the turn meter gain, but Jabba kind of wants that, so he can just go faster, run circles, and support his team. He wants survivability. It's mainly about Chrysanthemum. He wants armor and protection, make it way harder to deal with. I don't know if health is better or not, but everyone wants health, so I think protection and armor are definitely the best. And then potency to land those thermals. A lot of that damage is from debuffs like thermals. And for his level 6, I think Retribution is probably the best, just to make it hard for them to get off the ground. Anyone to get off the ground that's coming at them, if they're getting hit with a bunch of counterattacks, it's going to be pretty annoying. And then 3 turns is a pretty long time for undispellable Retribution. So I think that's pretty good. I don't love any of these level 6 mechanics, so that's just the best I can think of. And damage immunity doesn't do the same for them as it does for Kylo. Level 9, I think the turn meter for Jabba is probably best. Although I do like the Chrysanthemum as well, reflecting damage, because he's going to take damage all the time anyway. And that could be used for a team even if you don't have Jabba yet. Next up, we got the Fennec Grief Boss team. I do like this better than having Bam as the third, because Boss can call an extra assist, and he cycles through his turns, so he gets that assist more often. And so you want Fennec attacking as much as possible, and without that Bam-cron, it's just, I don't know, not as good. You want protection and armor on them, and this is coming from the assumption that you're using them to clean up Lord Vader. That's basically their job. It's what they're best at. They can take out some full comps if there's no Maul there, but for me, this is basically just a Lord Vader cleanup. And they want protection and armor because the dots are affecting their health. So even if they have good health, you want it on protection. Boss has great protection already. Fennec has some decent protection. Grief has great protection. And then armor helps them survive longer. And this is the only outlier for level 3, and I'll tell you why. It might not make sense right away, but in Fennec's unique, she gains 10% offense stacking whenever she gains tenacity up. And she's already getting that from Grief's cleanse. He grants tenacity up to bounty hunter allies with payouts. But the way this works is at the end of the turn, they're going to gain tenacity up, not just when it's dispelled. So you're going to get it twice. You're going to get once when Grief dispels or cleanses, and then again at the end of that turn. So she's going to get 20% extra offense every turn like that. And if you have Bam, it actually doubles. It's 20%. So I definitely think this is probably worth it. The turn meter gain, Fennec, she only wants basics most of the time. She wants armor shred a couple times, but otherwise just basics. And Boss, if you get some extra turn meter, it's not like a super big game changer. So I definitely think tenacity up is great for them. And then for the level 6, I think the failsafe is good. If they fall below 50% health, they get damage immunity. You know, since it's dispellable, I don't know how it works, if they'll just survive the dots when it gets to their turn. I would think the damage immunity triggers outside of their turn and lasts till the end of their next turn. But I don't know. If that is the case, then this would definitely help them survive one extra hit from Lord Vader, which might be all you need. Next up, we got the First Order team with First Order TIE Pilot. That's pretty much the only other pure First Order team I think is good for 3v3, unless you have Kylo Ren unmasked, or you're not using him with Supreme Leader Kylo. You'd have Crew, original Kylo Ren, and then the third. But I think this team is the best First Order 3v3. They love crit damage because they get tons of offense from First Order TIE Pilot and Sith Trooper. And maybe just some survivability. Health is decent for them. But they really love crit damage. They can finish off matches right away, or like within like 10 seconds sometimes. You want turn meter for them. You're using a lot of specialists in the beginning, and they're already super fast. It'll help you cycle through turns very quickly. And then Retribution, I think, is great. If your opponent does get a turn and they attack, they're just going to get counterattacked, and it's going to hit pretty hard. So that's a pretty easy call for me. It's getting Retribution and the turn meter. I love this team. They knock out like an EP Mara TIE Fighter pilot in like 10 seconds. Now we're coming to the end here. We got a couple teams, and I got the arrow pointing down because They want the turn meter gain as well, and I just had kind of like a little dividing bar because it gets confusing with all the level 6 and level 3 mechanics. This is Newt, B1, Django, and then the leftover Bounty Hunter team. I consider this team Bounty Hunter just because Django's the main feature, and they want crit damage and potency. Crit damage mainly helps Django Fett, and then potency mainly helps Django Fett as well. But they want Retribution as well. I just think that's the best one. Let me move myself a little bit. They want Retribution. Really had to get some damage off in the beginning. I still don't like the one where it's like if they revive, they get 25% turn meter and a cooldown reduction. It's just like, I don't know, it's not enough for when Boba and Django die. This Boba, Dengar, Zam team makes use of potency a lot because they're getting a lot of thermals out there, ability blocks. Don't really catch people off guard because it's not really any showstoppers on the team, but they can mess you up. Even if it's boss instead of Boba, they sometimes can get enough damage out there through thermals and such to really mess you up if you're not careful. And then crit damage to help Boba mainly. The other two aren't doing much damage through their own attacks. But yeah, Retribution helps out a lot. Just for Django on this team. And this team, Dengar is going to call assists with his basic sometimes, and Boba is inflicting dots. I don't think there's enough dots to like merit the protection up one. But in Zam, it's just juicing up the whole team with their Omicron if you have that as well. And then, like I mentioned, I don't have Crew here because I use him with Supreme Leader Kylo sometimes. But if you set him with original Kylo Ren and like Execution or something, probably just load up on health, protection, and armor, general survivability stats. So that's it for me. It might not be perfect advice, but that's just how I see it with this set. I think the stats are clearly the best. And level 9s aren't really impressive. I think the best strategy is leveling a bunch of Datacrons up to like level 5, either level 5 or level 8. See what stats you get, because you're not going to be able to reroll, and then just assign them out as you can. None of these stats are really bad. You know, I'm not happy about rolling potency and health steal because I think there's less teams that make use of it. But there are teams that make use of it. So you can find a way to spread it out across your roster without needing to reroll a ton of times. It's not like Dodge where you're so desperate to get just one stat, you're going to have to reroll all the time. So just level them up to 5 or 8, see what you get, and then dish them out accordingly. I like this set. I'm looking forward to building up more. I don't like the mechanics, but I think it's probably better for the game. It's more balanced. But anyway, that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you think.